The klaxon screamed across Ares 7 station, a sound no one ever wanted to hear. The siege code. Commander Elias Clark stood at the central viewing deck, hands clasped behind his back, jaw tight as he watched the outer sensors blink red. They were coming. The Saran fleet, over 100 warships, sleek and bone-white like skeletal beasts, cut through the blackness of space toward Earth's last outpost in the Orion sector. 5 minutes until shield failure, said Lieutenant Marla Voss, her voice strained. Sir, evacuation protocols have been initiated. Cancel them, Clark said quietly. Voss turned, stunned. Sir, we have civilians aboard. I said cancel them. We're not leaving. Ares 7 was never meant to be a fortress. It was a mining logistics hub, retrofitted with orbital cannons and emergency shielding when the Sarons first breached Terran space. For 3 months it had held, stubborn and outgunned. Now the station was bleeding power, its reactors limping, its hull cracked like old bone. Earth Command had already given up on it. Evacuate what you can. Delay the enemy, if possible. If possible. Clark stared at the fleet coming for them and made the kind of decision only old men make. The kind they know will cost everything, and still make anyway. Prepare the main plasma batteries, set detonation charges on Dock 6. I want every remaining drone ship loaded with whatever ordnance we've got left. Voss didn't question him again. Neither did anyone else. Not because they were sure of victory, but because they understood. Someone had to buy time. By the time the first wave of Cassiron fighters broke through the outer perimeter, the sky above Ares 7 looked like a dying star. Brilliant flashes of orange, blue, and white burst across the void. Explosions tore through the silence of space. Clark watched them fall, one by one. Auto turrets overrun, drone ships torn apart, the railgun battery silenced after a direct hit. In the command room, the lights flickered. Voss wiped blood from a gash above her brow. Sir, enemy boarding parties in sectors 4 through 9. We've lost life support to half the station. Clark picked up a sidearm from the wall. You're going down there? Voss asked, incredulous. No, he said, strapping on the holster. I'm staying down there. They fought room by room. The Sarons weren't machines, but they moved like it. Precise, pitiless, advanced. Their armor shimmered like liquid metal. Their weapons pulsed with cruel efficiency. Yet the humans, outnumbered and exhausted, fought like they were defending Earth itself, because in a way, they were. When Clark's squad was pushed into the lower hangar and only 6 remained, he knew the station wouldn't hold. But it didn't have to. He activated the emergency broadcast. This is Commander Clark of Ares 7. The Bastion falls, but she falls standing. You've got 30 minutes before the Saron fleet reaches jump range. That's 30 minutes to prepare Earth's defenses. No more. Do what we could not. Make them regret this. Then he looked to the ceiling, to the curved steel beams above the hangar doors, to the stars barely visible through the blast-warped viewport. I'll see you soon, old girl, he whispered. As the final detonation rocked Ares 7 in a controlled blast that swallowed the boarding parties and crippled the enemy forward ships, a single lifeboat slipped through a debris cloud, running silent. Inside were the last survivors, Voss among them, clutching a coded beacon in her shaking hands. Ares 7 was gone, but it had done the impossible. The Sarons were delayed, and Earth had been warned. The silence inside the lifeboat was deafening. Lieutenant Marla Voss sat strapped into the pilot seat, hands white-knuckled on the manual controls. Behind her, 19 survivors filled the cramped vessel. Engineers, medics, 2 civilian technicians, and a wounded Marine with shrapnel in his leg who hadn't said a word since the blast. No one spoke. Not since they'd watched Ares 7 vanish in a white bloom of flame and plasma. "Still no signal from Earth?" asked Chief Ramirez, leaning over the comms panel. Voss shook her head. "Not on any secure frequency. The beacon's active, but the relay satellites are offline. We're blind." She didn't say what they were all thinking, and Earth might be deaf. They'd made it out with one old jump-drive shuttle, half a tank of hydrogen fuel, and a hastily encrypted copy of Commander Clark's final orders. Tactical scans of the Ceron fleet, their flanking pattern, their target trajectory. Data that Earth needed now. Without it, the Cerons would arrive unseen, silent as death. "Jump coordinates locked?" she asked. "Locked," Ramirez confirmed. Voss hesitated. "God help us." She hit the ignition. The stars bent, twisted, and shattered into light as the jump drive kicked in. The ship lurched, violently. Everyone screamed as gravity snapped sideways, then vanished altogether. Lights flickered, then cut to red emergency glow. Warning klaxons blared. "That wasn't clean," Ramirez grunted, pulling himself back to the console. "No," Voss whispered, eyes scanning the readout. Her pulse froze. They weren't near Earth. They weren't even in Terran space. "We're off course," she breathed. "Jump malfunction. I don't recognize these star charts." A burst of static cut through the console. Then a voice, cold, layered, alien, echoed through the cockpit. "Unidentified Terran vessel. Power down and prepare for boarding." Outside, they could see it now. A long black ship shaped like a harpoon, dark against the stars. No visible propulsion, no insignia. It slid toward them like a predator. Ramirez swore. "Ceron Hunter class. They must have tracked our jump signature." "No," Voss said, narrowing her eyes. "That's not Ceron tech." The ship didn't fire. It simply hovered, like it was studying them. Then, something impossible happened. A light, blue, pulsing softly, blinked from the alien ship's hull. A message. "You carry the last record of Ares 7. You must survive." The crew exchanged confused glances. Ramirez leaned forward. "That doesn't make any damn sense. Who are they? Why would they care?" "I don't know," Voss murmured. "But they just bought us time." The stranger ship suddenly accelerated, streaking toward the approaching Ceron patrol that had begun to emerge on the long-range scan. Within moments, it vanished into a burst of weapons fire. The sensors picked up brief flashes, shield discharges, countermeasures, high-velocity particle bursts. The Ceron patrol was being fought off by this unknown vessel. "Someone just threw themselves into the fire to keep us alive," Ramirez said, stunned. "Then we honor it," Voss replied, her voice steadying. "Plot the next jump. I don't care where, just away from here." Hours later, the ship drifted quietly through a barren starfield. The crew tried to sleep. A few wept silently. Ares 7 was gone. Clark was gone. And yet, something else stirred inside them. Not just grief, defiance. Voss watched the stars, holding the encrypted beacon close, and whispered, "Whoever you were, thank you." It had been 3 days since the escape from the Ghost Sector. 3 days of silent drifting through dead space, hiding from every blip on the radar. Supplies were running low. The wounded Marine, Sergeant Talbot, was slipping into fever. And the crew had grown quiet, like ghosts aboard a graveyard ship. Voss kept watch. Sleep didn't come easily anymore. Her eyes remained locked on the encrypted data core, the final transmission from Commander Clark, and the tactical scans that could save Earth. They'd made it out alive, but unless they reached a relay station or an Allied cruiser, The mission was still lost. "We're running on prayers," said Ramirez quietly beside her. "Fuel's down to fumes. No sign of friendly beacons." "Then we keep floating," Voss replied, "until Earth hears us, or until we don't." That's when the proximity alarm sounded. Everyone jolted awake. Weapons were drawn, sidearms, a bolt cutter, even a mining torch. Old habits die hard when you've survived a siege. "It's back," whispered Ramirez. "The same vessel, same signature." Voss moved to the viewport. The alien ship hung there in the void, silent, black, and vast. But this time it didn't approach. It opened a hatch. "That's an invitation," Talbot rasped from the floor, managing the ghost of a grin. "Or a trap," said Ramirez. Voss made the call. "Either way, we're out of options." The airlock cycled open. The crew stepped aboard the alien vessel one by one, weapons ready, nerves on edge. The interior was nothing like Terran designs. Smooth, seamless architecture. Dim bioluminescent lights in soft blue arcs. The walls pulsed faintly, as if the ship itself was alive. And waiting for them was a figure, 7 feet tall. Humanoid, but not human. Deep obsidian armor, like the night sky wrapped in steel. No visible weapons, no mouth, no eyes, just a single glowing glyph on its chest, which pulsed as it spoke. "I am Karen of the Vorthari exiles. I bring no war, only purpose." The crew stood frozen. Voss stepped forward. "You saved us," she said. "Why?" The glyph shifted colors. "Because I, too, lost a home." Karen led them through the ship, speaking in calm, deliberate tones, either translated or telepathic. His people, the Vorthari, had once been a mighty race. Until the Saron Empire subjugated them, harvested their worlds, and declared their culture obsolete. Karen and a few others escaped. They'd become nomads in the outer dark, striking Saron patrols when they could. But now, Karen saw something in humanity. You resist, even when you should not. That is rare. "You want revenge?" Ramirez asked. "No, I want meaning, and survival with purpose is meaning enough." By the time the crew returned to their ship, they had a new heading and a new mission. Karen had offered a choice: stay and hide, or follow him into the old Vorthari relay array hidden in the dead moons of Cygni Prime. If it still functioned, they could amplify the data core signal and reach Earth directly. "But the Caserons will be watching it," Voss said. "Then we let them," Karen replied, "and teach them what it means to fear extinction." That night, for the first time in days, Voss slept. Not because she felt safe, but because she finally believed they had a chance. A ghost ship, a forgotten soldier, and a flame that refused to go out. The relay array on Cygni Prime was a graveyard. Floating monoliths of shattered alien stone and twisted scaffolding drifted above a barren moon, its surface scorched by plasma storms. Once a hub of Vorthari civilization, now it was nothing more than a forgotten relic, and a perfect ambush point. "They'll be here," Karen said quietly. "The Sarons always watch what they destroy." From the command deck of the human shuttle, Lieutenant Voss stared at the old console as Ramirez rerouted auxiliary power. "Can we make it transmit?" "Maybe. If we divert life support and bypass the safety fuses." "Do it!" The crew had long since stopped worrying about comfort. They had one task: send the data core to Earth. Commander Clark's sacrifice wouldn't mean a thing if they failed now. Above them, Karen's ship hovered silently, its systems interfacing with the Vorthari array, reawakening code thought long dead. And then the Sarons came. The first wave of scout ships tore out of hyperspace like wasps, sleek, deadly, fast. Behind them came destroyers, then the battle cruiser, the main fleet. They weren't just coming to stop a signal. They were coming to erase history. "Weapons hot," Ramirez said. "Weapons don't matter," Voss answered, eyes locked on the beacon panel. "We're outgunned. Karen knows that." And he did. Karen's voice echoed through the comms, calm, unafraid. "Human vessel, I will draw them in. You transmit, no matter what." Before Voss could protest, his ship surged forward like a blade through night. The Vorthari vessel collided with the first destroyer in a burst of blinding light. Shields collapsed. Saron formations broke, hesitating, not from fear, but from confusion. They weren't used to prey fighting back. Karen's ship spun, fired, disappeared into clouds of debris, and emerged again like a ghost. He fought not to win, but to buy time, like Clark had. Back in the array, the data core whined, signal locked, transmitting to Earth Command. Come on, Voss muttered, watching the light blink blue. Outside, explosions rocked the sky. A torpedo struck the surface. The shockwave cracked the moon's crust. Ramirez was thrown across the deck. Smoke filled the cabin. "We're not going to hold," he shouted. "We don't have to," Voss cried. "We just have to finish the send." The screen blinked. Transmission confirmed. Earth Command received. A second later, the main reactor exploded. The station shook. Panels burst into flame. Alarms wailed. Half the console was gone. Ramirez dragged himself to the emergency hatch. Voss stayed behind, staring at the blinking light. Received. Earth knew. She smiled through the smoke. "Your move, bastards!" Hours later, a Saron flagship hovered over the fractured remains of the moon. Aboard its bridge, a signal intercepted from Terran space echoed through the hull. Message received. Fleet mobilizing. Earth stands. For the first time in generations, the Saron command hesitated. And in that hesitation, humanity rose. Epilogue 6 weeks later. The first human fleet emerged from warp over the Cygni ruins. No life signs were found from Ares 7 survivors, but they found a piece of Karen's vessel, embedded with Terran coding and one final Vorthari inscription. "We do not burn quietly. We are the flame in the void." And the fleet carried that flame forward, into battle, into legend, and into the heart of the stars.